I'm going to call the meeting to order. And Chief, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Great. You join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome, everybody. Okay, Miranda, would you mind taking the roll call, please?
Mindy Smith,
Present.
Scott Norman,
Here.
Ryan Leahy,
Here present.
Jeff Robbins,
Here.
Don Smith.
Here.
I will turn now to the agenda for today's meeting. If you all had an opportunity to take a look at the agenda of today's meeting. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, changes, reorganizations?
Nope.
All right, may I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda for today's meeting as presented?
I'll move. Go ahead. Go ahead, Scott.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The motion carried. All right, public comment. I will open it to public comment now. Does anyone have any comment that they would like to make? Questions they'd like to raise? No? Okay. Next, turning to the minutes from the December 8th, 2025 meeting. Querying the board members whether you have all had an opportunity to take a look at the minutes as presented from the December 8th, 2025 board meeting.
Yes.
Any concerns, comments, suggestions, changes? So I would like a motion, please, to approve the minutes from the December 8th, 2025 meeting as presented.
I'll move to approve the December 8th minutes as presented.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carried. All right, next going to items of business. First, we'll turn to Ben. Are you on? He's not on. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you to start, and then when we get to the paid bills to Chief Jones. So Ryan, I'm going to turn it to you.
I met with Chief a little earlier today. We went over a few things. Looks like our income is a little lighter than last year for the income from the town, but our expenses are down with some of the changes we've made. A lot of extra bills this month. We're gonna bring those up on the board had a chance to read those there in the packet if anybody wants to read them as well. But a pretty heavy month on bill paying at the end of the year. Miranda was a rock star and making sure that all of that got taken care of. And that's about all I got on the bills. Chief, was good.
No, I don't have anything to add. I did talk to Ben earlier this week and we're pretty confident that we'll end up the year a little bit some good, a little bit lesser expenses than.
All right, does anyone have any questions related to the November paid bills or the financials?
Nope.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the paid bills in November as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
The November paid bills. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried. Turning now to item 7B, discussion / action rate, Chief Jones extension and the chief hiring process. As you all know, we did request input from a variety of people and received a substantial amount of input, very well thought out. Very encouraging, I think, input, whether it was positive or negative relative to an extension of the contract. I have to tell you, Chief Jones, it was always positive about you and the job you're doing. And all of those emails, calls, etc. If it was a call, I summarized it and provided it to the subcommittee consisting, the subcommittee handling the chief hiring process consisting of our vice president, Scott Dorman, and board member John Smith. So I would either summarize the call and send it to them, or I would cut and paste the email. I left identities out and just gave them directly the input. They reviewed all of the input that I received, as well as a variety of things that they reviewed. I'm going to turn it over to Vice President Scott Dorman to report on the subcommittee's work and their recommendation.
Thank you. First of all, we want to acknowledge Chief Jones for providing some stability in the organization. He's been here, what, 2 months? About, yeah. So we really appreciate all that he's done for us. And we did agree as a committee to that it was important to hire a permanent chief as soon as possible. Now, with that said, there's steps we have to take, obviously, and we looked at 3 different options that Chief Jones had provided with us. And the first one was keeping the current contract that goes until May, and try to keep on that track. The second was extending Chief Jones's contract to the end of 2026. And the third was extending Chief Jones's contract to the end of 2027. After reviewing and discussing the 3 options and with extra input that we got from other members of the organization, our recommendation is to go with the second option of extending and renewing Chief Jones's contract to the end of 2026. This would still provide a little bit more stability in the organization. It gives us more time to work towards the fire chief appointment and working with a recruitment firm. It was also discussed and agreed how important it was to hire, that this board hire the next fire chief. If we waited to 2027, we don't know if the board makeup would be the same, since we have an election in May of 2027. So I think it's really important. We felt like that this board was the one that hired the chief. So the recommendation timeframe would be the chief search would start in the spring of 2026 with the intent of having the fire chief on board, the new fire chief on board in October of 2026. That's extending Chief Jones' contract for several months, but in the end, we hope that Chief Jones would overlap a little bit with the new chief and be able to provide some transitional help with the new fire chief if that's needed. And if not, then Chief Jones is willing to step down whenever we needed him to do that. So really, that's what our recommendation is, to go with the second option of renewing or extending Chief Jones's contract till the end of 2026.
So I will open this up now to discussion. We have a recommendation from the subcommittee appointed to do the deep dive into this issue and to evaluate it. Open it for discussion. Any questions from board members? Any questions, comments, thoughts?
It's, we kind of, I mean, there's tons of reasons why we came to that. And Chief also said that, you know, if we got our new chief in October and he was able to wrap it up in a month, then it's a if needed till the end of 2026 kind of thing, right? That's how we understood it. And so I think that Chief and his family are putting a lot of things on hold to help us out. So I feel like if we would have stayed with his original and then extended it, it's like an unknown for him. So this gives him a little bit of stability in the time that he's giving us stability. So I think fair is fair.
That makes a lot of sense. Jeff, did you have a comment?
I actually never thought about some of the things that you guys said, but they're all really valid points. And especially the
idea of making sure that this board is the one that wraps all that up and not pushing it on to, a different board. I, um, I, I agree with Scott that, the chief has provided an enormous amount of benefit and stability to us just in the short time that he's been here. And I think, pushing that out giving him the ability to enhance that for another year will just be fabulous. So like I said, I didn't think of that option, but I like it.
Ryan, do you have any?
No.
I have to say, I really like your approach as well. I think that, we've hearing a lot of the input and having it come directly to me. There were a lot of people very supportive of extending the contract. A lot of people saying we really do need to get a new chief on board quickly if we can. Obviously, quickly can't compromise quality and being thorough in the process. And what I think this does is it enables us to maintain some of the stability we've achieved by virtue of you having come when you did. But it also enables us to take the time we need to really engage in a thorough process and find the right chief this time, because we really do need to find someone who's got staying power, had been through too much transition over the course of too many years, obviously. I also like the fact that it enables you to move some of the things in your third bucket into maybe your second or first bucket, because I love your buckets, but there are some things in that third bucket I'd really like to see moved up, and I do think it enables you to do at least some of that. So it kind of captures all of the interests in many ways. So I really appreciate your thoughtful analysis of it, but I agree that this is a very good approach. 2 years seems like it's too long. 6 months seems like it's too short. I feel like I'm reading from Goldilocks and the Three Bears, but this is just the just right solution. Is there any comment, any question from anybody in the room? This is one of those issues where I feel sometimes like it might be something that one of you maybe has a question about or a concern about. So I'm gonna ask if anybody has anything they'd like to say. Okay.
If not, I won't say one too. One thing I've learned in this, I'm learning a lot actually, but there is kind of as Chief said, a hiring season. It starts in like April, March, somewhere in there, and it goes till kind of the end of summer, and that's kind of when these chiefs are all looking to see what's out there. So, that's something we gotta look at. Also, we pick the right firm. We take our time doing that, then we get together what we want, what we're requesting to the firm, and it gives us the right time to start in March or April or maybe May, I don't know. And then it all works out to, us having someone secured by October. And then we can have a very lengthy process through all of this. Make sure we make the right decision.
All right, is there any further comment, questions?
You need to take a vote on extending the contract.
Yeah, no, I do. I know. I just want to make sure that we've gotten everybody's comments and concerns, questions, anything. No. All right, so then I'm going to put the matter to a vote as Vice President Dorman has suggested, that I need a motion, please, to approve extending Chief Jones's contract through the end of 2026. May I have that motion, please?
We'll make that motion to extend Chief Jones's contract to the end of 2026.
Motion by Scott Dorman to extend the contract until the end of 2026. May I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Second by Board Member Ryan Leahy. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the motion carried. All right, so I'm going to turn it again to the subcommittee on, the chief hiring process on the issue Roman numeral 2 under 7B, discussion slash action, Ray recruitment firms.
Okay, we also, part of this whole process that we're looking at extended chief's contract was also the finding the right recruitment firm. We sent out quite a few RFPs. We received 5 back. We reviewed those 5 proposals and narrowed it down to 2. And those 2 we're looking at are GMP and McGrath. GMP is Greg M. Prothman. He was one of the founders of the Prothman firm that our organization used for previous chief searches. But we didn't choose them at this time. It's the opinion of the subcommittee that these 2 firms meet the organization's fire chief recruitment requirements. And some of those were making sure that somebody was volunteer focused. And also had some experience on fire prevention, we have a career fire prevention team. The cost for both of these different firms are very similar, probably a few $1,000s difference, but I don't think that was necessarily a determining factor. But the plan is to bring a recommendation of which of these 2 to the full board meeting in February. Now, in January, I'm going to contact these 2 firms, if that's agreeable with the board, to do some reference checks and also ask them some questions about how the process will go. And I think you had a question about maybe having one of those questions being maybe being more regional and Colorado focused and not nationally focused.
Especially initially, whether initially it made sense to focus it on in a more localized way. I mean, we've done national searches in the past and it hasn't been all that successful. So I think that having a more localized search may be an
Becky.
question to ask.
And that's the question that I will ask. I think we need.
Becky,
Jeff, you need to mute yourself.
I apologize.
So that's one of the questions, and I don't have all the questions determined what I'm going to ask these firms yet, but that would be one of the questions that I would ask and how that would affect the search and whether that's even possible to do, and then come back with those answers. But I think it's good to get somebody that's familiar with our type of surroundings and our hazards that we have here in our type of community. So if that can be done with somebody just within Colorado, that'd be great. But if not, there's plenty of other communities in the West that are similar to ours too. So that's just one of the questions. And if people have a certain question that they would like me to ask these firms, you have my email, you can email me or call me. So
I have a quick question if we should. Once we have our, the description lined out, know exactly what we're looking for, has there been any discussion or thought but to maybe opening it up just locally before we involve the firm to see if somebody within our district or one of the surrounding districts could fit that bill before we start searching high and low, I guess?
So I brought that same question up because I'm new to all this part of it. And the one thing that they brought up is the screening. Like it will be advertised locally, but we don't want to do all that ourselves because we're not going to be doing screening and stuff. So I actually asked if there was a nationwide that we could just put it on and put it out to the local. And there is, but there's a lot of legwork that goes into that, like that. So, to put it shortly, they educated me on that. And, I agree with them after being educated that we need to go through a firm.
Fair enough. You and I can maybe meet up later and I can get a little educated on that as well.
Yep.
I appreciate that it was thought and discussed.
Yep.
Jeff, aside from Becky, do you have a question about the issue at hand?
Yeah, no. Not at all. I like Scott's approach. I'm I'm fine with it.
Any further questions, comments? So action wise for what do you need from the board?
I guess, just an okay to move forward, that, we, can go with these two firms. And then,
One of these two firms.
Wait,
we would pick one of these two.
All right,
We're
and so
trying to let the other three know so
Okay.
that they're not waiting for an answer.
Gotcha.
Is more so.
all right, so I think if the rest of the board agrees, we could authorize the subcommittee to let the other three know that they are no longer under consideration. A, B, that the two that are under consideration, the subcommittee is free to choose between the two of them and then execute that contract and move forward.
Will the board get another opportunity to look at the two and weigh them?
That's the
Prior
question, do
to-
we want that extra opportunity, do we want to delegate to the subcommittee?
I would like to see the board have that opportunity and maybe even involve some volunteers in that opportunity. For some of the district personnel to help with that final decision of which one is better.
And how do you all feel about that? Does that make sense?
I think mainly, correct me if I'm wrong, I think mainly we just came in to let the other three know. And then we were going to ask our questions and then come to you guys with the recommendation between
Gotcha.
the two.
That's correct.
Okay,
And then you guys could,
so
Not make the
I was
determination.
taking a jump further than
Yeah.
you were taking.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
yeah,
So the motion then that we would be considering here shortly would be to let the other, the subcommittee will be enabled to let the other three know that they're no longer under consideration. A, and B, that you will be returning to the board in February,
February board meeting.
at the February board meeting to make a recommendation as between the remaining two.
That's correct. yes.
Okay. All right, having stated that motion and not wanting to repeat it, can I have that motion?
I'll give you that much.
Thank you. I mean, I'm gonna do the minutes so I can go back and listen to the recording, but I can make the motion again if you like, or I'll state the motion. The motion is on the table. I need a motion to approve allowing the subcommittee on the chief hiring process to advise the firms that are no longer under consideration, that they are no longer under consideration, and also that they evaluate the other two search firms, ask the questions they need to ask, and then return with a recommendation to the full board on which of the two remaining search firms they believe should be the firm to engage in this process with us. May I have that motion, please?
I'll give you that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Ryan Leahy. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried.
President Smith, I have one item that I'd like to, related to this. Now that my relationship with you is, gonna be extended, 6, 8 months, whatever it takes to finish that, I'd like to talk about the issue of other interim positions, specifically Chris's position. When we were under Plan A, we were thinking that we might have a new fire chief in here and, as early as April or May. Now, when we're talking later in the fall, that means we'll be into a situation where we might have multiple interim positions. I would like to go ahead and start a process of filling Chris's position now, permanently, going through a process to do that. And then if that generates a need to fill another position, we do that as well.
You mean within the operations division, correct?
With those
Yes.
two, it's Chris's position right now, the operations chief, that's first. So I'd like to go through that process, get that position filled permanently, rather than wait. It's a long time for interim.
Okay, this is very much a part of what we're discussing here in terms of the extension of the contract, and we do have a later subject again also on the operations division in terms of an operations manager position, so why don't we discuss this now. So I'll open the floor to the other board members to, obviously, we so far have not authorized the search for or hiring of any permanent employees in the various positions that are open as we engage in discussions around the reorganization of the department and whether some of those positions would continue to exist. Obviously, as we have discussed at length, I think we've all come to the conclusion that at a minimum, certainly the two under the chief are going to continue to exist, whatever they're called, but certainly the operations division. So the question on the table is whether or not we authorize the chief to conduct a process to hire a permanent person for the division chief of operations position. And then if there are follow-on hiring needs, I can see one, for example, in the training division, depending on who is hired, or this operations manager position that we're going to be looking at. That's something that the permanent person would be in a position to assist with. So I'm going to open the floor to that discussion, and does any board member want to
President
start
Smith,
that
I'd like to
discussion?
further specify that it
Yeah,
would be
please.
an internal process, an internal recruitment,
Yes.
not an external. recruitment.
Gotcha. Okay, so the process that you're going to engage in will be an internal process, looking for a division chief of operations, i.e. we're not going to be looking outside people to come in and fill that role.
Yes.
So the question on the table is whether we authorize the chief to do that, since we, at least to date, have not authorized him to do that kind of hiring.
I would say that I don't have any concerns with the chief putting people into those positions that are already established. Training, for position in the operations office. I would want more information if we were going to create a new position. So I think the existing positions, I think he should have the authority to fill those positions as he feels.
One concern I do have is that we don't have a solid description of that yet. I know that we were working with the subcommittee to create the description and responsibilities for that position. I think,
Hold that thought.
okay, I was gonna say, before we move forward, I feel like we should have that decided on, and then also if you could give us kind of an idea. Internal was a great clarification for that, but could you maybe give us an idea of what you see that process looking like and how long you think it may take?
Question one is, we do have the reorganization process going on now, with the subcommittee and President Smith are on, as well as John and Chris. I anticipate, I'm hoping that process will produce 2 new job descriptions for the division chiefs, operations and prevention as the first step, at least, and bring that to you in the January meeting, so that you can approve the new job description for the 2 division chief positions. And then I can move forward with the process. I just participated in a commander promotion process over the police department just 2 weeks ago. They have 2 command officers, very similar to our 2 division chiefs. Chief Stewart had a new process, which I really liked, of a multi-interview process with 2 or 3 different panels, and then a ranking process that I really liked. That was more qualitative than quantitative. I think sometimes on these kind of processes, we try to make a qualitative process, a quantitative process by measuring something. It's almost impossible to measure with numbers. And so I would be talking to him about that, a similar process for us here. And if you were to approve the new job descriptions at your January meeting, I would move forward right away and see if we can get this settled by the end of January.
I'd kind of like to wait to make this decision until we approve how we're gonna do it and what the job is. I think we're putting the cart before the horse a little bit here. I don't think we need to give you the go ahead to hire people in those positions before we have all the facts in front of us.
So what we probably need to do is instruct the subcommittee that's dealing with the reorganization to come back with a recommendation at a minimum on what those 2 positions, what those job descriptions are gonna be. Particularly on the operations side, but since they affect each other, I think we're moving some things from prevention, obviously, over to operations. So I think what I'm hearing from most of you is that that it'd be better to make sure we have an idea, we have a very firm idea of what the two job descriptions are. Since that's something that the subcommittee is handling, that's me and Ryan. I know we're trying to schedule a meeting for right after the first of the year. Hopefully we can come back to the board in the January meeting with those job descriptions, and then we can decide what to do at that time. Does that sound acceptable to everyone?
Yeah, could we add qualifications to that list?
Yeah,
So we know what the qualifications are, plus.
the
what
job
is.
descriptions will have qualifications as well, yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of job descriptions. There's a policy committee overlap as well, which luckily I'm on is. So is Jeff, but we can, make sure that we also work with the HR people and with our attorney to ensure that we are capturing everything we want to capture in the job descriptions, including qualifications and the like. Does that make sense?
Can we have a by when that the committees can have those job descriptions put together, and like by when?
I think we're gonna try to do it by the January, well, now it's the 19th, but I hadn't gotten to that part yet. The January 19th meeting, we're gonna try to do that. At least the subcommittees can come back and report on whether or not they have been able to do that. I think at a minimum, we ought to be able to do those two job descriptions. That doesn't get into some of the other reorganizational issues or challenges that we face. And this one here does require board action in the sense that we need to authorize the chief to be able to hire into a position, and obviously we need to approve the job description before we can do that. So let's try to aim for January 19th. So Jeff, you and I and on the policy committee, and then Ryan, you and I on the subcommittee on the reorganization issue need to work hard between now and then to bring that back.
Sounds good.
Does that answer your question, Jeff?
Yes.
Any other discussion on this topic? All right, I'm gonna turn, did that answer your question sufficiently, Chief Jones?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So turning now to item 7C, I'm gonna raise this with Chief Jones. I'd like to open the discussions and for action related to recognition of extraordinary contributions.
Yes, thank you, President Smith. I've been thinking a lot over especially the last month of the conditions that all of our folks, our paid staff, our volunteers, as well as board members. We've all been through a lot this year. A lot of turmoil, I guess might be a good word. I think we're moving rapidly, I think, to resolve a lot of those issues, and I think what we've been talking about, gets us a long way, but it has been a tough year, especially for our internal folks. I would like to ask you to allow me to come up with a way that we can recognize the contributions that people have made. I hesitate to say bonus because the public service, it's hard to say bonus because we don't have sales quotas or, those kind of things that you might base it on, but we've got a couple of our key staff people that have, certainly Chris is one of them who is doing extra work, but he's also getting compensated. He's moved from a scale, and certainly Stacy already received a special compensation earlier in the fall. Miranda and John have both stepped up and are doing, especially Miranda has been doing the job of two people for the last 2 months here, and I sit here every day and watch the amount of work that she does. John has also stepped up to do, especially in the budget area, and I'd like to recognize that contribution, as well as all of our other remaining paid staff, as well as all of our volunteers. And I have talked to our HR consultant about that, and I suggested maybe a gift card or something like that. So that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to put together a program like that. Has a cost of probably somewhere between $15,000 and $18,000 to do that. There's no mechanism within our policies and procedures now for me to do that. So I think it really needs to be a board action to authorize me to do that.
Is that a long-term commitment or is that a one-time?
This is a one-time deal. Yep.
All right, so I'll open the discussion to talk about the request by Chief Jones that he be authorized by the board to expend approximately up to $18,000 on, to recognize extraordinary contributions by, members and staff.
Well, I think that's a good idea. I think I like giving the chief the option of determining who and what amount each person would get, because he's the one that's directly related to those folks, and you know, for us just to give an up to number, I think that's a way to go.
I agree with Scott. I think that, you know, there's a number of people that I know just went way above and beyond what was, you know, what was required, and just really stepped up and made sure that the department kept operating and was keeping people safe. Did y'all hear that?
As we heard it.
Okay.
There are very, there is one particular person that comes to mind that is very, very much deserving. I know that there are others and you deal with them more directly than I do, but I particularly appreciate Miranda, who has stepped up and way beyond the call of duty. So personally, I'd like to ensure that she is taken care of, financially, recognized for her contribution. I understand there are others as well. I do think it's best for you, since you are in the best position to determine the amounts and who and where and how, that's probably a good idea. I'm willing to hear contrary points of view on that, obviously. But I do think that that's a pretty good idea. Do you have any? Yes, you do.
No, I think Chief will. Chief knows, he's got the reading documents. I know, the one thing I wanna say is that, he asked for up to $18,000, and that doesn't sound like a lot to maybe the public. And I can see a few people raising their eyes, but I feel like just from some conversation with you that you're trying to do something. I mean, it's not as much for some as others. And after conversating a little bit with you the other day, I feel like you know where it needs to be put, so I'm in agreement that he should choose who gets what.
And you know, this does not, obviously next year we're doing a reorganization. People are gonna probably move into different kinds of positions. There are different things that can happen. Salaries can change, but right now we need, I think, to recognize, as you pointed out, what people have done here in the last few months during difficult times. So that it's recognizing contributions that have already been made. And it makes sense to me that you would be in a position to make the choices as to how that's allocated. Right.
I would say, working with the budget this year and looking at the numbers, that we have gotten everything done that we budgeted to get done. We've done it with less personnel. And the reason we've been able to do that with less personnel is because people stepped up to make sure that it was done. So I think we can accommodate this and still stay under budget for paying people for the year, and I think that it's well deserved.
Okay, so then, is there any further discussion on this? Anything anyone else would like to say on the board? No? All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve, to authorize Chief Jones to expend up to $18,000 in recognition of extraordinary contributions by staff and members. May I have that motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Me.
I'll make the motion to give authorized chief to give up to $18,000 out between our people and where he sees fit.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. The motion carried. All right, the next item on our agenda, discussion action or a possible creation of temporary part-time operations manager position. I think I'm going to be turning this over to either CT or Chief Jones. Chief Thomas, are you going to be the one addressing it, or?
I believe so, yes.
All right, Division Chief Thomas, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, I have met with the captains and we've had a lot of discussion about this. I appreciate the intent and the desire to invest and make sure that everything's getting taken care of within the operations division. However, at this time, we don't see a need or a benefit to put someone else in there. Ultimately, it comes down to, I will be training a new person to do some things for an amount of time. So it takes me away from everything else to train somebody who's gonna be temporary. On top of that, I know this might be changing, but on top of training the training officer, whether that's an interim or a full-time hired position. So at this point, we don't see a need for that, but we definitely appreciate the care and concern to make sure that we are taking care of the operations of our department. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
As long as it's been a thoughtful process and that the opportunity was there, so. If it's not needed, it's not needed. We need to waste time with it.
Given it came from the horse's mouth that, would have needed that, I'm good with what CT said.
I appreciate being on that end of the horse, Jeff.
Uh,
I would like to comment, you won't hear this very often in the public setting.
Great. Any further discussion on this topic? Any questions anybody has? All right, so there doesn't seem to be any, and we've had the discussion, but there's no action necessary here on this, so we can move.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes, please.
Not specifically on this. But Chief brought it up earlier. I would appreciate to have the ability to keep moving in the operations division. And it makes the most, in my mind, it makes the most sense to fill the operations chief position and then the training officer position versus filling a training officer position and then the ops chief position. And if it's not me, then I go work somewhere else. I've thought a lot about that.
It's 100%, you're 100% right, and yes, no, we're gonna look first at the division chief position, we obviously need to come up with, the job description.
100% understood.
Okay, so just, sit tight while the subcommittees do their work, we will get back to you on that, and that should and will be the first of the, permanent hiring, because you're right. That person then needs to address with chief what the lowdown is in terms of who's needed and who that person will be that's filling.
I appreciate that.
Anybody disagree with me on that? I know I just kind of jumped in and answered the question, but okay,
Well answered.
thank you. All right, I'm checking things off as I go. I'm looking forward to my kids at Christmas, which is gonna happen in a second. Next item on the agenda, 7E, discussion action raise sales tax election. Hibby, I'm gonna turn it over to you to address what you're hoping that the board you might want a statement from the board, I think, on this issue.
Yeah, well, we discussed it because we moved it up on his priority list. And after further discussion and kind of understanding a little bit more about it, I feel like we need to put that off and concentrate on hiring a chief. Cause I feel like if we're gonna go out and talk to the public about what we want, we need to have our permanent chief in place so that they can be the one to present it to the public. So then if the public has questions, they know the person they're talking to is going to be the person that they can continue to talk to.
That makes sense.
I feel like that was kind of our consensus level, so I would like to push it off until, obviously we need to have some meetings with the town and understand it more. I know we had one meeting with the town, but I'd like to see a few more meetings and kind of understand where we're going with this and why we're going this way and everything, but I'd like to push it to 27.
I would agree with Hippie on that, especially on to 2027. I think that we've gone through a year, like Chief had said, a lot of controversy. And I think that this is still gonna be a controversial issue that we brought up for taxing change for the department. And I think that, like Hippie said, we need to concentrate on getting the right person in for the chief and not add another controversial issue into the whole organization for next year.
Like to add to that, I think that the chief is very important as well as, before we move forward with something like that, we should have a very solid, well input strategic plan for the district as well as the, prevention to present to the public with what they can expect from us. So,
I feel like if we go in right now and present this to the public, like you said, they're gonna have questions and our answer is gonna be, well, we don't know. More of the same, so it just makes sense.
Jeff, do you have any?
Well, yeah, I can't disagree with anything that anybody said. The only thing that came up for me is the timing piece. So how is, because the town needs to do something about the the police department and all that, or the new facility. What kind of is, if we do it this way, is that still gonna fit within their time frame?
That's what I feel like we need to have a meeting with the town probably and discuss it with them a little bit and, have a little bit of Q&A with them and see what's up. But I think as far as for us, the town needs us to get our own tax. And so, I mean, if the town needs to move forward on it beforehand, then I feel like they could probably do that, but I feel like for us to move forward, we need to have our feet under us a little better.
Does the mayor have anything to say about that?
Well, he happens to be here.
I know he's there.
He may want to wait and address it when we actually have, set up a meeting to discuss that. I can't disagree with anything that's been said here. I understand the town has concerns and wants to move forward maybe a little sooner than we're prepared to do so relative to our situation, because of their situation with the police department. But this is sort of that you got one bite at this apple kind of thing, and we do need to have more stability. We do need to have leadership. We do need to have figured out what our organizational structure is even going to be and what our budget is going to be in light of that organizational structure. And we need to have a strategic plan in place as well. And I think a lot of what that organizational structure and the strategic planning is going to dovetail a little bit, because I think part of the direction of the board needs to be able to show to give guidance on all of those issues. Those are things that are absolutely imperative. And if we don't have those in place, it's very difficult, I think, to go and ask people for money in this context, because we can't give them the kinds of answers that they actually deserve. And right now we don't have those kinds of answers until we've gone through that work. And I know all of us have been chomping at the bit to do that work for a while. We've just had other things we've had to address. And so here we are. So I guess I do agree with you. I think we've reached a consensus. We don't need a vote, but a consensus that it's likely that first of all, that we need to meet more with the town on the subject. Two, that we probably need to defer a decision on this or defer action on this until we have a new permanent chief. And also have engaged in the strategic planning process, as well as the structural reorganization that we're undertaking right now. Have I adequately stated, I think, our issues and our consensus? All right. So having said that, that is our consensus. That
I will be happy to.
you can
transmit
keep it in
that
your
to-
third bucket.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk with Travis over at the town and talk about the issues there, and then he and I can maybe start putting some stuff together for some staff work to maybe
I think that's a good idea, and to have more, we need to have more communication with the town, I think we need to have more interaction with the town on this. But right now, I think that's where we are, is, you know, we obviously have to get our own house in order. But I think it is important to talk to the town, it's important to engage with the mayor, it's important to engage with, Travis. Obviously, we can revisit something if there's if we all come to a conclusion that it needs to be revisited, but I think right now we are where we are. So why don't you start engaging with Travis, and Mayor, let's try to set up a joint again, and not maybe a working session or something at some point, should Travis agree,
Probably already
one in the works.
attempted a joint session occurring, since I've already seen doodle polls on it.
Okay,
That might be transpiring. You know, the town is gonna support. Likely, you never know when you go out there. The town wants good fire protection, the town wants good police protection. And the right facilities. I think if done in the right timing. And all of this fits in with, you know, when you could get ballot issues and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really more of a timing issue.
it really is.
Shuffling it out over a year or 18 months and finding the right rhythm for it. But yeah, to try to slam it and do 2 ballot initiatives or 2 attempts to get increases in sales tax for 2 popular entities, it'd be difficult. It's like the same person being, you know, up for the same Oscar in 2 different movies.
Okay, so why don't you reach out to Travis and we could just start, you know, sort of discussing where we all are and what we need. Okay. All right, reports. We'll turn to,
Okay,
I'm happy
would you like to do that?
Well, I
Thank you.
actually want to, but I don't rate as highly as you do, sir, so I will do whatever I can. Should have brought my glasses.
would you like to borrow mine? They're pink, but you're welcome.
Acting Division Chief here.
For the next 20 seconds. Okay, the prevention divisions, they have wildfire risk reduction. Educator Lasley has completed 199 home assessments and 17 neighborhood assessments here to date. He's presented at 12 HOA annual meetings so far this year. He's coordinated with Laramie County OEM to host a town hall meeting featuring Laramie County Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally on January 21st at 5:30 at the community center. Fire Lives Here will be screened. I think that's a movie, and there will also be guest speakers. Information will be shared with our community once the agenda is finalized, but that's January 21st, 5:30 at the community center with Commissioner Shattuck. Developing details will come as they solidify.
I should mention that it's actually a joint session between Commissioner and myself. We're both sponsored.
Also, Mayor Terry Harl is sponsoring it as well. All right, sorry, it wasn't. All right, our mitigation crew finished chipping for the fish hatchery hydro plant project and the training grounds mitigation. Captain Sutherland is working on plan review experience, providing comments for multiple projects coming up, such as Stanley Hotel projects. A lot going on over there if you haven't heard well recently. Great. Multiple solar panel projects, new single family homes and short-term rental applications. Captain Sutherland performed annual inspections for the Stanley Hotel properties. This was a week-long project and several firefighters and staff assisted in the inspections to see what goes on for a large hotel property. Captain Sutherland is continuing inspections as needed, mostly on new construction and special events. And she is back to leading the peer support team and will be assessing needs for next year's academy. Division Chief Landcamer and Captain Sutherland will be part of the TAC for Town of Estes Parks Development Code rewrite, looking to modify landscaping requirements and integrate the WFRC wildfire risk reduction something. The culture code. There you go. Thank you. Yeah. Right. Focus group meetings are ongoing. Division Chief Landcamer is working on finalizing agreements between all parties to get the CWDG Thunder Mountain project started, working with Laramie County Sheriff's Department and Emergency Services to get work done on the CWDG project along the boundary with the Rocky Mountain National Park. They are open to committing to 20 acres of work that requires handwork. We'll be working on an RFP for the larger portion of the project next. The Chief Nate Kramer is working on grant implementation and management for the 2023 code swap, 2022 FRWRM, and the 2020 it says 2023 CWDG Thunder Mountain, but I think that might be. That's it.
He steps
Great.
away and can take over.
Hey, there you go.
Perfect.
Right.
You done?
Real close, right? Right there. Just finish the drawing on
Okay. I did submit a proposal for another co-swap grant. They had another round and we were encouraged to apply for it again, and we've been conditionally awarded that grant. So we have to do a site visit and look at the program. So we'll be working on that over the next month or two, and I'll give you more information when I know more. Very similar to the one we finished this last year, the 8-week Larimer County Conservation Corps project. It's a workforce development project. Okay. Wildfire Ready Action Plan coming out. Just again, I'll let you know when that, well, it is published on the Big Thompson Watershed Health Partnership. Still participating in 2025 Hazard Mitigation Plan update. It's going on through Larimer County over the next year or so. Have some things to get in before the end of the year. And continue to participate in the Woody Biomass Task Force, looking at implementing disposal solutions in Larimer County, hoping that we come up with something for Estes Park. Stations and apparatus, the annual breathing air compressor maintenance completed today. Torch just left a little bit ago. Next week, we're gonna be carpeting these front 3 offices. So it's gonna be a mess in here. We bought the carpet when we did this, but didn't pull off that part of the project. And they wanted us to store it, so I said, well, let's just store it on the floor. And install it.
Makes sense.
That was it. Thanks for reading most of it. Hope you understood all the acronyms.
All right, so Division Chief comments.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Training, we just finished up hazmat, so Fire Academy is officially finished. We finished on Saturday with JPR testing. For those of you not familiar, that's job performance requirements. It's like the practical, hands-on skills that they get tested on. We do it for Fire 1, Fire 2. Hazmat, instructor, all that stuff. So they actually have to perform the skills as well as written testing. So all the students passed the JPR testing and the majority actually passed the written test as well. The hazmat test is known as one of the most challenging because it's like asking Scott, when was the last time you were in a chemistry class? Yeah.
That's hazmat course.
Right, exactly. So, super challenging class as far as, for most of them, it's a lot of information. And my sense of humor only goes so far. So my goal is to keep them conscious, breathing and alert. And when they start fading from that, we stop and come back another day. So, this has been my 5th or 6th year teaching hazmat, and people are still coming to the class. So I feel like I'm doing something well. Tomorrow is the last training night of the year. We're doing some station projects, and if it's not windy, I'm hoping we're gonna burn 2 cars out at training. It's my hope. Training calendar, I've been talking to you guys about that. I finally got it out to the members last week. It still needs a few tweaks, but the meat and potatoes are there. I tried to put everything I can possibly get on that calendar as far as when we have activities within the department. Miranda went through and put like the holidays on there, so I don't schedule things on those days. I think we have to swap a couple during the Fire Academy next year. But again, working with some of our mutual, or they're not our mutual aid partners. I have Flight for Life coming to do a helicopter LZ training. We're working with where John just was, up at the Honda School, up at Eagle Rock. We're gonna be doing some wildland training out there, and we're actually doing our swim test out there. So I've already solidified with that with them. So those are kind of some new things on the training calendar. And at the end of January, we're doing our first TIMS class, our traffic incident management. So it's flagger training for our folks, which I'm super excited about that. And that's already on the schedule. As far as operations, our SCBA bottle testing is complete. All frontline bottles have been tested and are back in service on the rigs. So we have 5 more years of life in them. did some great learning, about those and some other things that have been getting worked on. But really excited to have those tested and back on the rigs, back in service. Meeting the standard there. Fit testing machine has been sent off to be calibrated and will be back in the next few weeks. So still working on that. I talked with the auxiliary member who's gonna be operating it, and we talked about what she needs and how to set that up. We got some more information from the manufacturer as far as potentially utilizing their software to keep the records, or not. So we're still working through that part, but we have sent off the machine to be calibrated, and we'll start working on that at the beginning of the year, kind of learning how to use it and making sure we understand and are doing it correctly. We have an officer meeting tomorrow before training, our last one of the year. Basically getting officers together, looking at membership numbers and finishing the year strong. So I appreciate them being willing to get together one last time. Just to kind of nail those things down and make sure that we're entering 2020. Next year, 26, I'm talking 27, 26. Holy moly. Making sure that we're ready to start the year strong. With everyone having understandings of what the expectations are, and then building in some consistency, that's been lacking. A couple other apparatus things. Engine 71's had some electrical gremlins, so we are hoping for the node to arrive in the next couple days here so we can get it fully back in service. We've been running engine 72 as first due if we anticipate a need for flowing water. It can still be utilized that way. It's just, you need an old guy because you got to do it manually. So we've been pushing engine 72 out on anything anticipating the need for water. And everybody's been very clear on that. So that's been great. Staff 73 also needs some front end repairs. And that's already been communicated with Garrett and staff 72. I'm sorry. I never remember. So that's been communicated with our mechanic and we're moving in that direction. That's what I got.
Thank you, Division Chief Thomas.
Yes, ma'am.
Captain Kirby, do you have a report for us this evening?
He does not, but I do.
Yeah.
It's okay. Captain Smith.
But it is Captain Kearney's birthday, so I will.
Happy birthday, Captain Kearney, and I'm so sorry, Captain Spear, I do know your name, I have no idea why I just said that, I am really tired today.
You were looking at him.
Can I start? No, I was looking right at you.
And I've been-
Captain Spear, do you have a report for this evening?
Of course, I would like to say that just along the lines of engine 72 is still a great engine to be running. First due was our first due engine for a long time. And luckily we do have old guys still around. I won't name who they are. That can just about anything. So we're in good shape as far as the apparatus go, but we'll be happy when engine 71's gremlins are worked out. So, let's see. Volunteer responses, I told a couple of reports, I emailed you a thing, but you probably haven't seen it, so I'm just gonna say it, don't worry about it. Which is, we're up to like 819 calls this year, as of today. That's a bunch. And so I don't think I've seen 800 before. 820. Those would be ones that have reports are completed. It's probably more than that. But at any rate, that's 133 officer only calls, 686 all fire page calls. So that's kind of what our data out of reporting program is saying at the moment. And of those calls, we're looking at like 6 over the last month. 6.32 is the average volunteer response per call. Average response per call, not solely volunteer. And so that's pretty good for the end of the year. We typically see our members tail off at the end of the year. They've all met their metrics for the year. Everyone's tired after summer, holidays, the deal. But we're looking good. So, but that's a lot of calls, over 800 for our organization. So, something to keep an eye on. Hey, there you go. It's wanted. Yeah. So
Nice.
here's your call breakdown. I still find it interesting, and I brought this up to Chief Jones, and he said, it's not uncommon for false alarms, false calls, those kinds of things to be 20-something% of what we're doing. When I look at it from a volunteer's perspective, or I guess just my own perspective, I should say, when you do false alarm, false calls, good intent calls, I don't know, they weren't like emergencies, and that's a lot of our calls, right? And this you go, well, between that and EMS, who we have an EMS provider in town, right? You go, holy smokes, it's 3/4 of our stuff. So, I don't know. I don't think we're overwhelmed yet, but it's a lot of calls. So maybe there's some fine tuning we can do there and how we treat things in the future, but that's above my pay grade. That's for you. I just give you the numbers. So that's it there. Captain Kearney, myself, some other people have picked up some jobs around the department. Mine was to, look at air pack grants for next year. Talked to Chief Landcamer and Chief Jones as well. We have two, proposals for grant writers. One, so looked at those, forwarded those on. And then in the 2026, we'll be looking for, going for that grant. Our match will be roughly 5% of whatever value to that air packs we need, which is over $300,000 worth of equipment probably. The good news is we got 5 years left on our bottles, so don't have to have it next year, but we're gonna start going for stuff and see where we end up. So in terms of the district, that's $20,000 to $23,000 commitment between paying for the grant writer and then our 5%. There you go. Yeah, covered everything I wanted to cover. I'm
Thank
gonna
you,
stop
Captain Spear. Yeah, I got it right then. All right, so, Chief Jones,
Okay, these, thanks, good report, so.
thank you.
Couple things, I got to observe our crews in action here the last few days with our little wind event. I know Chris was up all night on Thursday, so thank you for doing that. I got to see, got to observe a structure fire with Justin as the IC the other night. Great job. I'm continually pleased what I see as far as our emergency response. I think Rick just brought up an important point that even though our average response per call is in the 6 or 7 range, our average response for structure fires and incidents that require a lot of people tend to be more in the range of 10 to 14, 20 people, which is what I mean, we can go lighter on the other stuff, but when we really need them, people are showing. So that's a good thing. I also got Mayor, I got to experience the town's services this week. I had a huge tree in my yard blow over and power and communications were out as well as streets, and Justin was there and they cut up this huge tree and unblocked the road and put up the power. I did communicate that with Travis as well, so he's gonna pass that on to your folks that do that work, so thank you. Couple other things as far as admin wise, we are working on all the state filings and notifications that happen at the end of the year in conjunction with our attorneys. You'll see one of them in your January meeting, because there are specific things that we have to do. Every year, some things we have to file with the state, we have to put on our website, we have to send to the county and those things. We did have our administrative assessment this time last week, and I expect I'll be getting a report from them in the next 2 weeks and bringing that to your January meeting. What we had them do is they came in and they interviewed spent a lot of time when we were looking at our administrative operations. They interviewed John and Chris, as well as there were some others, but I've lost that right now. I think they talked to you, Sandy, a little
They
bit as
did,
well.
yes.
So we're looking forward to having that, because I think then that is the next issue we need to deal with, is how and should we fill the open administrative position, what level, what duties, those kind of things. And that was part of that administrative assessment. So stay tuned for that in January. I think you mentioned the reorganization subcommittee, which we have John and Chris and I working with board members as well on that. And again, at least bringing the first phase of that back to you in January, so that's moving along. One of the things I do want to do, since you made the decision tonight to extend me to the end of the year or close to the end of the year, I'm gonna redo my buckets a little bit and see what we can move up a little bit. We are making progress on several of the shorter term things that I'm pretty pleased with. We had a great Christmas event. I think Tuesday night we had, I think we had 100 people here, didn't we? Close to it. I mean, the bay was full, which I think when we put out the tables, Rick, we were counting 120 chairs, and I think they were pretty close to all full. So thank you to everybody that had something to do with putting that on. I sit here and watch Marinda every day, and I can't tell you how many hours she put into preparing for that event. So thank you for making that such a good event, as well as our auxiliary folks and many other folks that came in and helped with that. One of the projects we've got going is to re-energize our public relations and PIO functions. We will be receiving a proposal in the next day or so from a local government communications firm that was recommended to me by the town, by Travis. And so we're gonna get a proposal from them on how we can rebuild and make our public relations, our PIO, public information function, our social media presence, all those kinds of things. Do a better job with that. And some of that has fallen off with the change in staff. So we're gonna rebuild those. I'm gonna be starting in January. Actually, Logan and I are already scheduled for one presentation in the community, the service clubs and those things. And I've got a long list of contact people for that, so I'll be scheduling those here pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to doing that. We did talk about starting a new program in 2026 for board meetings, and that is a mini ops briefing, 15 minutes max on department programs. So you can get a better idea as a board of what all of our folks do. And the first one is gonna be our auxiliary program. So I'll be working with Justin to have a couple of our auxiliary folks come in and tell you what they do. They provide tremendous service. And then, if you have any other ideas of what you would like to see, like our evacuation plan with the town, there's one right there. Some of our wildland preparations for wildland response is certainly another one. Specialized rescue, our fire academy training, there's lots of stuff. So, I think, President Smith, you and I maybe can come up with a list of what those are, and we'll get 12 of them next year, and every board meeting will have a 15-minute mini briefing of something that's important in the district that our folks are doing.
And also, I'd like to request each board member just individually send me your ideas. So that when I meet with chief, I can tell him those ideas too. We can get them on an agenda for board meeting.
Yeah, I think I'm excited about this. You know, I think it's really gonna be good. The last thing I wanna mention is for the last few days or last week or so, especially since the weather's been so nice. I've been driving around the community a lot. I've been looking at our risks, you know, our commercial downtown risk or our larger apartment complexes. As I learn more about our response capabilities, you know, and seeing how those line up. I think that's one of the things that we talked about when I came on board was, you know, help the district understand a little bit about what our capabilities are and how those match up to what our risks are. And our structure fire situations risks, you know, are pretty well matched with our response capabilities, especially when you get in our mutual aid. One of the difficulties we have here, especially for structure fire, is we're kind of isolated. So it takes us an hour to bring in mutual aid resources from Loveland in Lyons, a little bit closer for Pinewood Springs and Allen's Park and Glenhaven. But that is a challenge that we have here, is, you know, you can't call mutual aid and have them be here in 15 minutes. That is a challenge we have. One of the things I've been watching real close and is our wildfire risk. And I've been driving around a lot of the neighborhoods, I mean, almost right across the street from here. And we have a heck of a wildfire risk here. And I don't think that's any news to anybody that's in this room. And it certainly is increasing and not decreasing with all the changes that we have in the world we live in today. So John and I were just talking a little bit about it today is that I'm gonna be asking John to, over the next couple of weeks, to really look strongly at how do we retool our wildfire risk reduction programs. Jeff has provided us with kind of an outline of a business plan, and we'll be using that. I know that we've had discussions about what do we do with the mitigation group. You know, we've had that discussion. And we'll continue to have that discussion. But we have some other vacant positions in our wildfire program that if we don't deal with, we're not doing a community service. I mean, this wildfire situation is a big deal. We need to continue to put resources to it, both now and in the future. So I'm excited about working with John and bringing that forward, and I think we're scheduled to bring that forward to maybe in February. And so we retool that entire program, because now we not only have the 1A, we actually have three things going on. One is the services that we've always provided under prevention. Then we have the 1A funding that has specific things in it. And then now we have this much larger program called the Protecting the Gateways to the Rockies CWDG grant, which is $9.8 million. So we got a lot of things going on with it. And as I drive around and I look at our community, I think that's just the beginning of what we need to do. So with that, that's the end of my report. So thank you.
Sandy, I did forget one thing.
Yes, sir.
We were able to assist Allen's Park Fire. They had a hazmat tanker rollover up there. I just wanted to let you guys know we were able to send a crew of 2 and our tender up there to support their operations, and allow their crews to go home and sleep. So that was a huge win for mutual aid relations, and I forgot to put it in my report.
Well, thank you. It's really important, and I'm really glad you told us about that. Thank you. And of course, on the prevention and job filling and different things, that is obviously a subject that we're discussing in our subcommittee. We may actually have even more information about that in January. So, I look forward to working with you both on deciding what that'll look like. I don't think we have any unfinished or old business. There's nothing listed here. Yes, sir.
I'm not really sure if it's unfinished old business, but Chief brought up that we needed to maybe get someone permanent in the operations chief position. And another one that I would like to bring up, that I would like to see are job requirements and everything on, as soon as possible would be our front office. We keep saying that Miranda's doing a fantastic job and stepping up to the plate, but I feel like she needs help.
That's part of that
Yeah,
administrative assessment.
Yeah, I think we're waiting on these administrative assessment, and that is going to
Okay.
be, obviously, one of the things we immediately jump into doing. Whatever they recommend, we'll be coming back with a recommendation to you, and then doing job descriptions for those positions, depending on what they come back with.
Okay.
Which I think we expect in the next
Next week or so.
week or so, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other unfinished or old business? All right, new business. Do any board members have any new business they would like to raise? Okay. Our next regularly scheduled meeting, it was scheduled for January 26th, but it turns out both your president and your vice president are going to be in warmer climes in various very distant locales. And so we have moved the January meeting to January 19th. Now I know that's a holiday. I'm very sorry, but it is the date that we were able to select for that board meeting that all board members could attend, and that give us some amount of time to do the business we need to do. And so that may mean that I have to run the computer or something, and so somebody can teach me how to do that. But in any event, our next scheduled meeting is moved from January 26th to January 19th, same time, 4:30 p.m. So any other announcements? I don't think there are any, unless anybody else has anything. So if there isn't anything further, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried. And the meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas.